very much. So I started out preparing rather what I thought was lengthy, comprehensive idea about the topic for tonight of discrimination and algorithms. I did research, I knew the things I wanted to talk about, and I started out with this. Let me help you out. We already talked about that. I'm down to this. Okay, we've already said everything there needs to be said. I think everyone has covered it exceptionally well. I have to tell you this. I just got back from a conference in New Orleans, and you can't help but when you go to New Orleans think about this country and think about discrimination in ways that we just can't imagine something up close and personal happening to us. And so every time I go there, it's very, I'm always thinking about this discrimination. But I actually went to another workshop that talked about algorithms and discrimination. I was all excited. I'm like, look, this is great. It's going to be very timely. And so I was very excited. But this has been an exceptional, and I say this, and I hope that Canopy understands, this is my first time here. And hearing the wealth of knowledge, the breadth of and the depth of the information that was given here tonight, I think it was extensively covered, and so I don't want to waste your time just repeating what has already been said. What I'd like to do is to kind of maybe look at it from a different perspective. And so I wrote down one thing because, like I said, everything else was done, and I thought about this, and so I said, how will we know when algorithms are no longer discriminating? Does anybody want to guess what the answer would be? Because I think in a way it's a really simple one. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think that if they have algorithms that aren't discriminating, the whole purpose of algorithms is discrimination.
Well, that I think is a way to think about it, but I want you to pause it. Let's change the paradigm a little bit. Because here's what I'm thinking is, algorithms are a way to ensure equality, right? By putting in certain things. The problem is that our laws are not necessarily in line with that. And for example, one of the things that you have to think about in anti-discrimination laws is that you can't actually pull out certain characteristics of a person and make a determination based on those characters, those traits, right? So you can't say we're going to look at just women, we're going to look at just African Americans. But the algorithm can actually do things that will help us actually eradicate discriminatory practices. The question is whether or not we're going to ensure that they do. So I just put that out there because I'm thinking, and my simple answer, because I like to keep everything neat and simple, is when the numbers truly match. And by that I mean this, is that if there are, and you see this over and over again, what's the majority of CEOs that are men, that are over 6 foot? Right? The majority of men in this country are not over 6 foot. They're actually under 6 foot. So then you look at the fact that the majority of people happen to be women. So how is it that the majority of men are not only, the CEOs are not only men, but they're also over 6 foot. And the average male in America is 5'11". So when we think about it, it's about the numbers. Do the numbers add up? Are the right amount of people in the right amount of places, given that if things were equitable, would we be where we need to be? Would all of the black people live in Roxbury? Would all of the, you look at it differently. It's just that if everybody were spread out evenly and fairly and equitably, and if we all had access to those things that matter in terms of healthcare and employment opportunities and housing, would we congregate the same way? And if not, then the algorithm that's an implication that the algorithm is not working in our favor. So if they're telling you that they're taking the bias out, the way to find out is that if you go into that corporation and it looks the way it ought to, that it mirrors the community, right? And so I think if you think about it, that we got to start thinking about what does it look like, what's the challenges to us as as a body of people who are interested in this. Is because data's here to stay. That I know. Everything that everybody said, data's here to stay. It's very efficient. It's very effective. It can be very dangerous, but can also be very positive. It can make sure that we reach out to particular areas, that we go into places that we hadn't gone before, that we actually find out why some of these places can't figure out where all the black techies are, right? Because there is a way. So there's data that can make that happen. Right? There's algorithms that can create those opportunities. The question is whether or not we're going to insist that they happen. And that's the real challenge for us here today, is to think about that and to think about the ways in which we can do it. Because I'll tell you this, I work for the government. Let me tell you about the government. As much as everybody likes to think we got a lot of money, we don't. So if you think we're going to solve the problem, we're not. Okay, I'm thinking the biggest challenge is who are the people that I'm going to put into place who are going to investigate these complaints? I don't even have an answer to that right now. First of all, let me help you out. My computer system, we can't even data mine simple stuff. So imagine us trying to do some of the things that you expect us to do to protect your civil rights. And so I say this is going to have to be everybody involved in this, and it's going to take everyone to think about this. And again, those transparency issues, all of those things, the laws are going to have to make sense. All the things that come together that make this, whether or not it's going to be a positive or a negative, is going to be up to everyone who can participate in their own way. So if you are the computer people, we need you to help come up with ways that agencies like mine, a civil rights agency whose goal is to eradicate discrimination in the Commonwealth with little resources, tell me how to fix the problem. Because I'm not going to be able to do it with the resources that I have. And so I'm going to need somebody to do that. I'm going to have to find people who have skill sets that I don't even understand what the skill set is that I'm going to need. So begin to think about that in government, right? Is that I don't even know what I don't know that I need. And I'm supposed to make determinations as to bring in investigators. How will they investigate? What skill set will they need? How will I be able to oversee them? And here's what I know is that for the last 30 years, the MCAD budget has been one of the worst budgets in the entire Commonwealth. We've been underfunded and understaffed, and our body of work shows it. We've just dug ourselves out of that. We've just dug ourselves out of doing it by paper. You want us to now get into algorithms to determine whether or not things are happening that need to be happening or not happening. So we're going to need to be thinking outside the box, and we're going to need all of the people in the room. We need the innovators. We need the people who are going to be creative. We need the people who know what it is that we don't know to tell us and to make sure that we're hearing you and that there is funding for that to happen. So I know that we've all had all of our pieces. I want to wrap this up because I know that you want to have an opportunity to respond and ask questions of some of the most brilliant minds that I have heard have a discussion about discrimination algorithms. And again, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank Canopy. What a wonderful place. What a wonderful space. And thank you for inviting the MCAD to the table. I know that I feel like there's not a lot that we have to offer, but what I'm looking for is an opportunity to tell you all that we need you desperately. We need you to help us figure this problem out. We're here. We're willing to listen, but it's going to take all of us together recognizing that the best country in the world is the country where everyone matters. Everybody has something to offer. And I believe that the data can help us get there, figure that out. So I invite you to be part of that conversation, to keep it up. Thank you very much. And I guess I'm going to turn it back over to you so that you can get us into a panel discussion. Thank you.